Hey everyone. Hey, we've got some great news coming at you. Exactly what we were telling you. Don't be discouraged. Don't give up hope. So Kristen and I are jumping on very last minute and we don't have a lot of time. I'm going to have to scoot out of here in just a couple minutes. But we just wanted to let you know that the Supreme Court stayed the OSHA mandates. So we're going to go over just a couple of details though, that are very important for you to know. I was kind of predicting that OSHA would stay the broad sweeping mandates and that they would put a stay on it with some conditions. And that's exactly what they did. So this just came out. We've got the 30-page opinion. However, we have not had time to really break it down in great detail. So the main points that you need to know are that there was a 6-3 decision, which means all 6 conservative justices voted to stay the OSHA mandates, that they were too broad, too vast, too sweeping. One of the main points they said was that the OSHA mandates failed the doctrines test, that they did not have the authority to issue these sweeping mandates, and that there's been historical precedent set that OSHA does not have this kind of public health policy sweeping basically police power. So Kristen, do you want to expound on that just a little bit and maybe talk about, I think people can probably guess with a 6-3 decision who our dissenting judges were.
It's real easy. Breyer, Kagan, and Sotomayor. I cannot say her name. Mayor.
Yeah.
Okay. So all 3 of them were wanting to uphold this. Of course, everyone else put the stay. I'm looking down. Sorry, I'm trying to actually read this 30-page document before we jumped on. That's why we don't want to expound on details. But just remember that when the Fifth Circuit Court had initiated the stay, and then it went into that lottery into the Sixth Court, that's when they were court shopping. This was supposed to go to a whole panel, which is primarily conservative. And I'm sorry to say this, but conservatives are more constitutional, which is what this should be based on. But from what I can see, I saw Kagan's dissent, and it made my stomach flip because she improperly thinks OSHA has the power to do this, and just went on to talk about how it's all these experts that decided these control methods were what we needed. Obviously, that's false because there's tons of experts that don't work for OSHA that would tell you there's better control methods. But what I'm gathering is a couple things. No statutory authority. That is literally really the only reason it was brought to them. They don't have the statutory authority. So 6 of them agreed with that to put the stay in. And the second was they really did look at the undue burden that this was putting on employers because of the funding, employees that would leave. I believe I have to look more thorough, so that's why we wanted this just to be like a breaking news, dig into it, read it yourself thing, and maybe we can address it in length later. I think Ron Armstrong's going to do a live later. But this just dropped. I don't even know if anyone has time to really analyze it. I do think they may have put modifications in there. I didn't really look
there
at
were conditions. Remember the CMS conditions, the only allowances that they made was for healthcare. Now, don't freak out though, you guys, because this is not a vaccine mandate. It is a vaccine or weekly test mandate. And even then, there is precedent that the bloodborne pathogen standard does allow healthcare facilities to enact, the Hep B or flu shots, but there's always allowances and exceptions for employees that do not want to participate or do not want to receive that. So there's still going to be exceptions and allowances, but basically what they said was that this affects federal healthcare facilities that take Medicare or Medicaid payments. That's it. Everybody else, private business, private industries, this does not cover. So
yes, over 80 million Americans are not going to have to be forced to be coerced into doing something that they do not believe in and could cause potential harm and a greater risk.
Right.
Here's the thing. Everything has been so corrupt lately. We didn't know until we knew. I thought once they reviewed the documents, they would see there's no authority here. It is black and white. That's why I don't even understand how people can dissent on it. But here's the thing. For those companies that are still, I understand I worked for the federal government for 12 years. I understand all the politics and the hoops. Get out of there, okay? Let me just tell you something. I worked for the federal government for 12 years. You can make way more money working in the private sector. Why? Because you can get bonuses. The federal healthcare system can't give bonuses really over $1,000. My bonus at the VA was like $350. my bonuses in the private sector were tens of thousands of dollars doing the same job. So what I'm saying is I understand the push-up, the thrift savings plan, and all these benefits, but over what? Your health, violating your deeply held religious beliefs, ignoring your pre-existing medical conditions? You can get other jobs, folks. You can do it. And just remember that we told you so. I don't mean to sound like catty, but we told you. I understand. Well, they've done a lot of things in this country lately that are illegal, but this is huge, you guys. Tammy, we agreed if this was stayed, we were going to double date. So you guys pick the restaurant. Just make sure they have vegetarian options for me.
That's true. We
wine.
did. We so knew, we knew that there were sweeping mandates, that there's just no way, this is so illegal. It's so obvious. We're going on a double date after this is done to celebrate. We've been planning it. So it is always fun to say, told you so. But for all those naysayers out there that say, we don't know what we're talking about and we're crazy and we're off our rockers, who are the two ladies that have been telling you for 2 years all the details, educating you. And this is not about tooting our horn. This is about celebrating a big win and a victory for freedom, for the Constitution, and for the rights and liberties of the American individual citizens that were protected and that were upheld by the Supreme Court of the United States 6-3. Just goes to show you how important the Supreme Court justices are. Right? Because all three of the wacko liberal activist judges voted against your personal freedoms and liberties. They voted against the Constitution of the United States. And they voted to make the federal government a federal overlord that could dictate every single aspect of your lives. Remember that. Remember how important it is, the judges and the justices that we elect. So there's still a lot of detail that we have to dissect and we have to get into, and we'll come back. We want to keep this short. Just wanted to celebrate you. Just wanted to celebrate freedom and victory and let you know about the big win so you can breathe easy. But one thing that we have to leave you with is that if your employer is still trying to shove this down your throat as an OSHA mandate, you need to get our white paper at standupmichigan.com. It's $1 a download. And you need to bring that to them and put them on constructive notice and say, there is no OSHA mandate. Knock it off. You are violating my rights. And then you turn them in. You turn them into OSHA. You tell OSHA, look at what my employer is trying to make me do. They're trying to make me wear an N95. I'm guessing protection program. So OSHA will have no choice but to cite them. So the power is in your hands.
And they will.
They will cite them for that. Absolutely, they will. And we need to put OSHA right now in between a rock and a hard place, because we have been telling you, and this just proves we know what we're talking about. We are the experts in these fields, and we're telling you this is how you take control. Now we need to do it. And you need to not let your employer boss you around and tell you OSHA says. No, they don't. The Supreme Court stopped them. So those of you that are in healthcare, if your employer takes Medicare or Medicaid services, what we need to do now is dig into the details, but don't panic, because we do know, number one, this is a vaccine or test weekly. It's not an automated vaccine, okay? Number two, there are exemptions. You do not have to take any jab. Nobody can make you do anything. You have religious exemptions, you have medical exemptions, and they are allowed. Okay, so we don't want you to panic if you work in healthcare. You can still opt out. So no panicking allowed. We've been saying that all along. Stay positive. Don't panic. Just keep your eyes on the Lord. He is fighting for us. He's going before us, and he always will provide a way. And like Kristen says, if you work for the federal government in these federal systems, you might want to think about going to work for the private industry. They are dying for good workers, and you can make so much more money if you get out of the government system. We know, because we work in private industry, not for the government.
And another loophole is as working in federal hospitals, I had to take bids for different contracts, and let me just tell you that there's loopholes because they will lose people, and they won't. A lot of places will not require of the contractors. But let me just say something. I know some of you may think, some of you that are watching us in the comments, you may be thinking, that's great for all of you, but this other one still affects me. It's not to be like, okay, we're cool and we forget you, but let's think about this. I think it was like 83 million people were going to be affected by this. So it wasn't like, if this place is doing it, leave and go work at this place. Now it's a small population that can leave and join the other population. So
yeah,
you need to be
they are worried about that.
Yes. And let me tell you that when it comes to federal hospital funds, well, that's a whole different life. They care about that money. and you can lose funding if you don't have certain numbers and staffing percentages. And and anyone who's a veteran, do you ever notice those surveys that you constantly get in the mail, and then you get a reminder card about the survey? Do you ever wonder why they spend so much money sending those out? Because that has to do with their funding. So let me tell you, when you get those surveys back, give them hell. I got one I just got in the mail yesterday. Huh, I never fill those out, but I'm gonna roll up my sleeves and get a new pen because I will. So let's just,
Exactly.
again, keeping this short. Thank you so much. And just a reminder, I know that we are the faces of this, but there are many lawyers and doctors and administrative support we've worked with, other people in our professions that maybe don't podcast and do lives like we do. But, special thanks to Stephen Petty, who was part of the peer review of our white paper, Vince, Chris Schaefer, all these people, T.L. Peters, Tiffany Rogers, all these people that have been in our profession speaking out. I can't say the people that work for the federal government, but trust me, they're on Twitter. They're IHs and OEHS pros, and they align with us. We're not alone. We're just the faces. We're not taking all this credit, and we couldn't do and fight for you if you didn't support us, if you didn't remind us that we're worthy of your attention. We wanted to start those little brush fires to burn in your workplaces of liberty, like let liberty burn. I don't mean in a violent way. I'm saying we can only push you to fight for yourselves. So thank you for sticking with us and having faith in us. This fight's not over. We need to still help these other people, but we get a little bit of a break. So thank you
Yeah.
so much, everyone. Please hug your families and just have faith that we wait for 6 people in that Supreme Court that understand law. Because I know that this was an opinion, Tammy, but you and I know, being in this profession, there was no way legally that this should have been upheld. So this isn't about opinions. This is about, did you read the law?
Absolutely. And all they were doing was spewing their biased objection, non-objective opinion. None of them are experts on any of this, yet they were spewing these lies that you can tell all they listen to is CNN. Everything that you hear on CNN is coming out of the justices' mouths. And it was all lies. There was nothing truthful about it. So they were highly emotional and they did not apply the law. And that's very, very telling right there. So I just want to leave the healthcare professionals that are still subject to a vaccine or weekly testing mandate. Remember that you have exemptions. Remember you have religious and medical exemptions, and they do not have the right and the authority by law to deny these to you. Every single person that I have worked with, an attorney, to write a religious exemption has gotten them approved. Every single person that I know of that has used Peggy Hall's exemption letter has gotten them approved. So they can't legally deny you exemptions. Go to Peggy Hall's thehealthyamerican.org. She's got all the resources you need right there as far as exemptions, how to get a religious exemption, things like that. By law, they have to accept that. Okay, so you start there. Then if they're still going to try to force you, then you walk, because now the world is your oyster. There are so many workplaces that are desperate for workers with the severe labor shortage. And now people are not going to be forcing their employees to do things that they don't really want to enforce them to do anyway. And they're going to attract really good employees. Even if you've got to go into a different career field, both Kristen and I did. I certainly never anticipated being the executive director of a nonprofit organization. But you know what? I just couldn't keep doing what I was doing anymore, morally, ethically. I just couldn't do it. And Kristen, I'm sure, never anticipated that she was going to be a whistleblower and going to be
I sold goods. I sold my Harley Davidson Dyna Lowrider. I sold my goods. And my husband even offered to support me. And I said, no, I'm independent. I got to sell things before I ask anyone, because I left my job. I saw so much corruption in my profession. But I just want to say this, because I just have a feeling there's going to be a huge boost in the economy, because I feel like everyone's going to go out to dinner. So, celebrate, pay forward, tip extra, smile. This is a huge win, you guys. This is a huge win, and we are not going to forget who pushed this.
Exactly. And Kristen and I we're going to celebrate. We've been telling you guys all along that there's hope. Don't give up. Don't despair. Be positive, be optimistic. And everything that we've been telling you, well, what do you know? It's true. So now we get to go out and have a double date and celebrate. And right.
We're not doctors or lawyers. No, they just call us. Yeah. All right. Thanks so much, everyone. Pay attention. I'm sure we'll both tease. I believe Ron Armstrong is going to dig into this and do a live tonight, and thank every single one of you for standing up for yourselves and your businesses. So have a safe and blessed evening. And remember, get some new air filters, keep your people safe, eat clean.
Right.
Maybe not tonight. I think tonight we can stray. So anyway,
Right.
have a good night, and we're going to all take a little break. So thanks so much, everyone.
Take care, everyone. I feel like I can breathe now, so we're going to go celebrate. Love you guys. See you later.